They didn't arrest him because he was trespassing. They arrested him because he was about to tell the truth. You've got 30 seconds to pack up and get off this land before I call this in as criminal trespassing. The deputy's hand rests on his belt, 2 inches from the radio. Isaiah Grant doesn't look up from the soil sample he's sealing. Gloved hands steady, vial cap twisting clockwise 3 times. The man doesn't know he just threatened a federal contractor on a site Isaiah has accessed 214 times in 14 months. The sample goes into the insulated case. Isaiah stands slowly, facing the uniform. I'm authorized to be here. That what you tell all the property owners? Deputy Trevor Hollis steps closer, boots crunching dried sage. Because, Mr. Driscoll says otherwise. Isaiah keeps his voice level. This is a federal environmental site. My contract grants access. Show me. The documentation is in my truck. Then let's walk. If you want to see how a single overlooked detail can dismantle an entire case, keep watching, because what happens next exposes a system that protects itself above the truth. The tablet sits on the dashboard where Isaiah left it, screen dark. Hollis peers through the driver's window, sees the locked equipment case in the truck bed. Open that. It contains field equipment, chain of custody samples. I didn't ask what's in it, I said open it. Isaiah retrieves the key from his pocket, unlocks the case. Inside, calibrated pH meters, sealed sample bottles with dated labels, a binder thick with forms. Hollis flips through the binder without reading, drops it back. This doesn't say you're allowed on Driscoll's property. Because it's not Driscoll's property. It's a former test range under federal jurisdiction. You got federal ID? I'm a subcontractor, not an employee. Hollis keys his radio. Dispatch, Unit 47. Need backup at the old test range, East Access Road. Static. Then, copy, 47, Unit 12 en route. Isaiah doesn't argue, doesn't raise his voice. The morning sun climbs higher, already pushing 90 degrees. A hawk circles 200 feet up, riding thermals. The second cruiser arrives 8 minutes later. Deputy Ethan Rourke steps out. Younger, leaner, posture that says, former military. He walks the perimeter Isaiah's been sampling, counts the flags, 16, each marking a soil collection point. Deputy Hollis says you don't have permission to be here. I have authorization under a Department of Defense contract for environmental remediation. Rourke's eyes narrow. DOD doesn't own this land. They're responsible for remediation of formerly used defense sites. This is one of them. Then you should have documentation from the current landowner. The contract supersedes landowner permission when federal cleanup is involved. Rourke pulls a small notebook from his chest pocket, clicks a pen. Name? Isaiah Grant. Address? Isaiah provides it. Rourke writes slowly, each letter deliberate. Employer? I'm a subcontractor with Arcadia Environmental Solutions. Contract number? Isaiah rattles off 15 alphanumeric characters from memory. Rourke writes it down, doesn't verify it. Wait here. Both deputies walk 20 yards away, voices low. Isaiah watches their body language. Hollis gestures toward the truck. Rourke shakes his head. Hollis gestures more emphatically. The conversation lasts 4 minutes. When they return, Hollis speaks first. Mr. Grant, we're going to need you to come with us to sort this out. Am I being detained? We're investigating a trespassing complaint filed by the property owner. I'm not trespassing. That's not for you to decide. Rourke moves to Isaiah's left, Hollis to his right. Not touching, not threatening, just positioned. Isaiah recognizes the formation. Turn around, hands behind your back. Isaiah complies. The cuffs click shut, tighter than necessary. His wrists press against steel. Access code, Tango 749er Hotel, Bravo 38 Quebec 2. Hollis pauses. What's that? My site access authorization. It's visible on my tablet screen. Rourke glances at the truck, sees the tablet on the dashboard. He doesn't pick it up. We'll verify everything at the station. They walk Isaiah to Hollis's cruiser, hand on his head as he's guided into the back seat. The door shuts. Through the window, Isaiah watches Rourke photograph the sample flags, the equipment case, the tablet. Standard evidence collection. The radio crackles. Dispatcher's voice, distorted. Unit 47, be advised. Coordinates flagged for... Static drowns the rest. Hollis keys his mic. Repeat. Liaison required. More static. Then nothing. Hollis shrugs, starts the engine. The drive takes 18 minutes. Isaiah counts landmarks. The cattle guard at mile marker 7. The abandoned gas station at mile marker 12. The grain elevator just before town. He's driven this route 43 times for site access, never in the back of a cruiser. County jail sits behind the courthouse, brick building from the 70s, bars on every window. Hollis parks in the sally port, opens Isaiah's door. Watch your head. Inside, the air conditioning barely functions. Booking officer looks up from paperwork, takes in Isaiah's jeans and work boots, the dust on his shirt. What have we got? Trespassing suspect, Hollis says. Refused to leave when property owner called it in. I didn't refuse anything. I wasn't asked to leave. The booking officer ignores him. Name? Isaiah Grant. Date of birth? Isaiah provides it. The officer types with 2 fingers, slow hunt and peck on a keyboard from 2008. Occupation? Environmental engineer. Employer? Subcontractor. The officer stops typing, looks up. Subcontractor for who? I'd like to make a phone call. After processing. The officer slides a plastic bin across the counter. Empty your pockets. Belt, watch, phone, keys. Everything. Isaiah complies. Wallet with driver's license and 2 credit cards. Truck keys. Phone. Screen shows 4 missed calls. All 202 area code. Watch with steel band, scratched from fieldwork. $53 cash. The officer logs each item, types the list into the computer. Isaiah's phone buzzes once. Another call. The officer powers it off, drops it in a manila envelope. The tablet in my truck contains documentation relevant to why I was at that site. We'll inventory everything. When? When we get to it. A second officer, name tag reads Vance, appears from a side door. This him? Yeah. Needs prints and photo. Vance leads Isaiah down a hallway, fluorescent lights humming overhead. The fingerprint scanner is newer than the rest of the equipment, digital instead of ink. Isaiah presses each finger to the glass as directed. Right thumb, right index, right middle, right ring, right pinky. Then left hand, same sequence. Look at the camera. The photo captures him mid-blink. Vance doesn't retake it. Over here. A holding cell, 8 by 10, concrete bench along one wall. No window. The door locks with a mechanical clunk. Isaiah sits. The concrete is cold even through denim. He checks his wrist for the time, remembers they took his watch. No clock visible. The cooling system's hum becomes the only sound. He counts breaths. 4 counts in, hold for 4, 4 counts out. Site access windows run 6 a.m. to 6 p.m., 7 days a week during active sampling phases. He was scheduled to collect 12 samples today. 4 completed before Hollis arrived. 8 incomplete. The project timeline allows for weather delays, equipment failures, access issues, not arrest. Footsteps approach. The door unlocks. A woman in slacks and a blazer stands in the hallway, public defender, based on the County Bar Association ID clipped to her belt. Mr. Grant, I'm Karen Zhao, Public Defender's Office. I've been assigned to your case. She steps inside. The door stays open, officer visible 20 feet down the hall. They're charging you with criminal trespassing. I wasn't trespassing. According to the report, you were on private property without landowner consent. It's a federal remediation site. I don't need landowner consent. She flips through a thin folder. Do you have documentation of that? Yes, in my truck. They confiscated it. I'll request it. Your arraignment is scheduled for 9 a.m. Monday. Isaiah processes the timeline. Today is Saturday. I'm here until Monday? Unless you can post bail, which won't be set until arraignment. When can I make a call? After arraignment. She's already backing toward the door. Case number 87 this month, probably. He's a box to check. One more thing, Isaiah says. Request the body cam footage from Deputy Hollis. Timestamp 0842. I stated my access authorization code while being cuffed. She writes it down without looking up. I'll add it to discovery requests. The door locks again. Isaiah returns to the bench. The concrete feels colder now. Saturday afternoon passes in fluorescent silence. A tray slides through the door slot at 5 p.m. Sandwich, apple, milk carton. The bread is dry, the apple bruised. He eats mechanically. Sunday is identical. Same tray, same food, same humming lights. Monday morning, they bring him to the courthouse through an underground tunnel. Shackles on his ankles, cuffs on his wrists, chain connecting them at his waist. The courtroom is empty except for the judge, a bailiff, the prosecutor, and Zhao. Case number 7739, State versus Isaiah Grant, criminal trespassing. The judge, 50s, reading glasses perched on his nose, scans a single sheet of paper. How does the defendant plead? Zhao stands. Not guilty, Your Honor. Does the state have a bail recommendation? The prosecutor, young, suit slightly too large, stands. Given the defendant's lack of ties to the community and the nature of the offense, the state requests bail of $10,000. Lack of ties? Zhao's voice sharpens. Mr. Grant lives 40 minutes from here, has stable employment, and no prior record. The judge looks at Isaiah for the first time. Mr. Grant, do you have employment? Yes, Your Honor. I'm an environmental engineer under contract. Local? The worksite is local. The contract is federal. The judge makes a note. Bail set at $5,000. Next court date. He flips a calendar. June 18th. Preliminary hearing. The gavel taps. 5,000. Isaiah has it. Barely. The bail bondsman's office is across the street, advertises 10% down. He posts 500, signs paperwork he doesn't read carefully, walks out into June heat at 11:30 a.m. His truck is still at the impound lot. $40 fee, cash only. The equipment case sits in the bed, lock broken. Inside, 3 samples missing. Chain of custody forms scattered. The binder's spine is cracked. The tablet is gone. Isaiah stands in the impound lot, sun beating down on cracked asphalt, and catalogs what's been taken. The tablet contained GPS logs for every site visit, 14 months of data, timestamps, coordinates, access codes, field notes, all backed up to a secure server, but the device itself, DoD property, is missing. He files a property receipt request with the clerk's office. They'll look into it. The drive home takes 22 minutes. His apartment, 3rd floor, faces east, is exactly as he left it Saturday morning. Coffee mug in the sink, bed made, mail on the counter, unopened. He showers for the first time in 60 hours. The water runs cold after 8 minutes, but he stays under it anyway, scrubbing dirt and jail soap and humiliation down the drain. When he finally checks his phone, powered on, 17 missed calls now, the voicemails are all from the same number. Washington, D.C. area code. He calls back. Program Management Office, Lieutenant Vasquez speaking. This is Isaiah Grant. I have several missed calls from this number. A pause. Keyboard clicks. Mr. Grant, we've been trying to reach you since Saturday morning. Your site access beacon went offline at 0850. I was arrested. Longer pause. Arrested? By county sheriff, on site. They're charging me with trespassing. On a federal remediation site? Yes. Who authorized the arrest? Deputy Trevor Hollis responded to a complaint from Clayton Driscoll, who claims ownership of the land. More keyboard clicks. Mr. Driscoll leases adjacent property from BLM. He doesn't own the remediation zone. I explained that. They arrested me anyway. Where are you now? Home. I posted bail this morning. We're going to need a full incident report, and we need to coordinate with site security. How many samples were compromised? Isaiah looks at the broken equipment case in his truck bed, visible through the window. At least 3, possibly more. Chain of custody is broken. That's a protocol violation. I didn't violate it. Law enforcement did. The line goes quiet long enough that Isaiah checks if the call dropped. Mr. Grant, stand by for further instructions. Do not return to the site until we've resolved this with local authorities. How long will that take? Unknown. We'll be in touch. The call ends. Isaiah sets the phone down, stares at the wall. 14 months of work. 214 site visits. Not a single incident until Saturday. He opens his laptop, pulls up the project folder, backed up daily to the secure server. GPS logs intact. Field notes intact. Sample analysis reports, photographic documentation, correspondence with the program office. Everything except the physical tablet. An email arrives. Subject: urgent. Site access suspended. He doesn't open it yet, knows what it says. Instead, he opens a browser, searches for attorneys. Not public defenders. Someone who handles federal employment cases. The first 3 firms don't answer. Monday afternoon, probably in court. The 4th picks up on the second ring. Brennan and Associates, how can I help you? I need to speak with an attorney about a wrongful arrest. Civil rights or criminal defense? Both. Hold, please. 60 seconds of hold music. Classical, tinny through the phone speaker. This is Marcus Brennan. Isaiah explains it in 5 minutes. The site, the contract, the arrest, the missing tablet, the suspended access. Brennan listens without interrupting. When Isaiah finishes, have you been formally charged? Criminal trespassing. Arraignment was this morning. And you have documentation proving you were authorized to be there? Yes. The county confiscated most of it, but I have backups. Good. Don't touch those backups. We'll need them exactly as they are. A pause. My retainer is $5,000. That covers initial investigation and preliminary hearings. If this goes to trial, or if we file a civil suit, we'll discuss additional fees. $5,000. The same amount as bail. I'll transfer it today. I'll send you intake forms. Fill them out completely. Include every detail, even if it seems minor. Dates, times, names, badge numbers if you have them. I don't have badge numbers. We'll get them. One more thing. Do not speak to law enforcement without me present. If they contact you, tell them to call me. Understood? Understood. I'll be in touch within 48 hours. The call ends. Isaiah transfers the retainer, fills out the forms, emails them back. Then he opens the urgent email. Mr. Grant, site access is suspended pending resolution of the June 10th incident. All sampling activities are on hold. Please coordinate with Lieutenant Vasquez regarding equipment return and incident reporting. Project timeline will be adjusted accordingly. Program director adjusted accordingly. Bureaucratic speak for delayed, possibly canceled. Isaiah closes the laptop. The apartment is too quiet. He turns on the TV, news, local affiliate, weather report, traffic, a story about the county fair next month. Nothing about arrests, nothing about federal sites. He's not news, not yet. The system that just arrested a federal contractor is about to learn why documentation matters, but first, they'll try everything to bury what actually happened. His phone buzzes. Text message from an unknown number. This is Zhao. Got your discovery request filed. Estimated 30 days for response. We'll keep you updated. 30 days. A month of suspension. A month of legal fees burning through savings. He texts back. Thank you. Another buzz. Different number. Mr. Grant, this is Clayton Driscoll. We need to talk. Call me. Isaiah deletes it. A third buzz. News alert. Local rancher concerned about government activity near property line. Story at 6. He turns off the phone. The next morning, Isaiah drives to the county courthouse. Not for court, for records. The clerk's office opens at 8. He's there at 7:55, waiting on the steps. Inside, he requests copies of the arrest report, property inventory, dispatch logs. The clerk, 60s, half-moon glasses, types his name into the system. That'll be 50 cents per page. How many pages do you need? However many the arrest report is. She prints it. 4 pages, $2. Isaiah reads it standing at the counter. Deputy Hollis responded to a call from property owner Clayton Driscoll reporting suspicious activity on private land. Upon arrival, Deputy Hollis encountered the subject, Isaiah Grant, engaged in unauthorized soil collection. Subject claimed to have federal authorization, but could not produce documentation. Subject was detained for investigation. During transport, subject became verbally confrontational, requiring restraint. Verbally confrontational. Isaiah reads it again. He never raised his voice, never argued, recited an access code, and asked for his attorney. Can I get a copy of the body cam footage? The clerk looks up. That requires a formal request through the sheriff's office. How do I file that? She slides a form across the counter. Fill this out. They have 30 days to respond. Another 30 days. He fills it out anyway, slides it back. She stamps it, files it in a tray already overflowing. Anything else? Dispatch logs from June 10th. She types again. Frowns. Those are restricted. On what basis? Ongoing investigation. The investigation into my arrest? I can't discuss active cases. Isaiah takes the arrest report, leaves. In the parking lot, he photographs every page, uploads them to the secure server, emails them to Brennan. His phone rings. Brennan. I got your email. This report is fiction. I know. Good. That means we can prove it. The body cam will show you never became confrontational when we get it. The clerk said 30 days. Standard stall tactic. I'll file a motion to expedite. If they're hiding something, they'll fight it. If they fight it, we know it's bad for them. And if they don't fight it? Then we get the footage and use it to shred their narrative. Either way, we win. Question is how long it takes. I can't afford long. I know, I'll push hard. In the meantime, avoid Driscoll, avoid the deputies, avoid that site. If they're building a case, we don't give them ammunition. I'm already suspended from site access. Good. Stay suspended. Let them think you're backing down. The call ends. Isaiah sits in the parking lot, engine off, watching people come and go from the courthouse. A woman in a sundress, holding a toddler's hand. A man in coveralls, work boots caked in mud. A lawyer in a suit, briefcase in hand. Normal people, normal problems. Traffic tickets, small claims, divorce paperwork. He starts the engine, drives home. The local paper runs Driscoll's story that evening. Isaiah doesn't read it. His neighbor knocks on his door, holds up her phone. Is this you? The headline, Local Rancher Concerned About Federal Overreach. Clayton Driscoll, a fourth-generation rancher, expressed frustration this week over what he describes as unauthorized government activity near his property. These people show up unannounced, digging holes, taking samples, Driscoll said. Nobody asked my permission. Nobody told me what they're testing for. It's my land, and I have a right to know. Sheriff Meredith Crane confirmed that a suspect was arrested on June 10th following Driscoll's complaint. We take property rights seriously in this county, Crane said. If someone's on your land without permission, that's trespassing, plain and simple. The suspect, whose name has not been released, is facing criminal charges. A spokesperson for the federal government declined to comment. His neighbor lowers her phone. That's awful. Are you okay? I'm fine. If you need anything, I'm fine, thank you. He closes the door gently, leans against it. Fourth-generation rancher. Property rights. Government overreach. The narrative is already set. His phone buzzes. Brennan. Saw the article. Don't respond. Don't comment. Let them keep talking. The more they say now, the harder it is to change their story later. Isaiah texts back. Understood. He sleeps poorly that night. Dreams of cuffs, concrete, fluorescent lights. Wakes at 3 a.m., can't fall back asleep. Sits in the kitchen, drinks coffee, watches the sky lighten through the window. At 6, his phone rings. Program office again. Mr. Grant, we've been in contact with the county regarding the incident. And? They're claiming you were operating outside the designated remediation zone. That's false. I have GPS logs. We know, but they're requesting a formal boundary survey before allowing access to resume. How long will that take? 6 to 8 weeks, possibly longer if Driscoll contests the findings. The project timeline doesn't allow for that. We're aware. We're exploring options. In the meantime, your contract is on administrative hold. Administrative hold. Not canceled, not terminated, just frozen. Am I still getting paid? Not while on hold. I'm sorry. The call ends. Isaiah sets the phone down, looks at his bank account. $5,000 to bail. $5,000 to the attorney. Rent due in 2 weeks. Yes. Savings enough for maybe 2 months if he's careful. He opens job sites, starts browsing. Environmental engineering positions. Compliance specialist roles. Federal contractors. Every application asks, "Have you ever been arrested?" He closes the laptop. The next week passes in a gray blur. Brennan files motions. The county files responses. Everything takes longer than it should. Isaiah's preliminary hearing gets pushed from June 18th to July 9th. No explanation given. He applies for unemployment. The system flags his application. Suspended federal contractor doesn't fit their categories. He calls the office, spends 40 minutes on hold, explains the situation to 3 different people, gets transferred to a supervisor who promises to review the case and call back. No call comes. His landlord slides a note under his door. Rent is due. Please pay by Friday or late fees apply. He pays. $200 left in checking. Brennan calls on a Wednesday. Got the body cam footage. Isaiah sits up. And? You were right. You never raised your voice, never became confrontational. The report is a complete fabrication. So what happens now? Now we file a motion to dismiss based on false statements in the arrest report. If the judge grants it, charges drop. If not, we go to preliminary hearing and shred them on the stand. How long? Motion hearing is scheduled for June 30th. 11 days. What about the civil case? We can file once the criminal charges are resolved. Going after them for false arrest, malicious prosecution, violation of civil rights under Title 42, U.S. Code, Section 1983. Will that get my job back? A pause. It'll get you compensation. Whether it restores the contract, that's up to the program office. Not the answer Isaiah wanted. I'll keep you updated, Brennan says, and ends the call. June 30th arrives. Isaiah wears the same slacks and button-down he wore to arraignment, only professional clothes he owns that still fit. Brennan meets him outside the courtroom, briefs him in 2 minutes. Let me do the talking. If the judge asks you a direct question, answer briefly and honestly. Don't elaborate. Inside, the prosecutor is different, older, sharper suit. County attorney, not the arraignment kid. The judge enters. Everyone stands. Case number 7739, defense motion to dismiss. Brennan stands. Your Honor, the defense moves to dismiss all charges based on demonstrably false statements in the arrest report. We have body cam footage that directly contradicts Deputy Hollis's written account. The county attorney stands. Your Honor, the state contests the characterization of the arrest report as false. Differences in recollection are not the same as fabrication. Let's see the footage, the judge says. The bailiff sets up a laptop. The courtroom screen flickers to life. Timestamp 8:42:17. Hollis's voice. Turn around, hands behind your back. Isaiah complies. The cuffs click. Then Isaiah's voice, steady and clear. Access code, Tango 749er Hotel, Bravo 38 Quebec 2. Hollis, what's that? Isaiah, my site access authorization. It's visible on my tablet screen. No shouting, no confrontation, just calm statements of fact. The judge watches the entire 6-minute clip. When it ends, he removes his glasses, sets them on the bench. Counselor, where in that footage is the defendant verbally confrontational? The county attorney hesitates. Your Honor, the full context of the encounter. I asked about the footage. What I see is a cooperative suspect providing information. What I don't see is anything resembling the behavior described in this report. The deputy may have been referring to statements made prior to. The body cam was activated when Deputy Hollis exited his vehicle. This is the entire encounter. The judge looks at the prosecutor. Do you have evidence contradicting this footage? No, Your Honor, but... Then the arrest report contains material falsehoods. Motion to dismiss is granted. All charges dropped. Mr. Grant, you're free to go. The gavel taps. Isaiah exhales for what feels like the first time in 3 weeks. Outside, Brennan shakes his hand. That's the easy part done. Now we build the civil case. How long will that take? Federal civil rights cases? A year, maybe 2. But we can use the dismissed charges as leverage. The county knows they're exposed. They'll want to settle. For how much? Depends on damages. Lost wages, legal fees, emotional distress. We'll start with a demand letter. See if they bite. Isaiah nods, but he's already thinking past the settlement. Thinking about the contract, the suspended access, the project timeline slipping away. What about my clearance? Brennan frowns. Your security clearance? If I have an arrest on my record, even if charges were dismissed, does it affect my clearance? It shouldn't. Dismissed charges aren't convictions. But you should notify your security officer. Let them document it before someone else does. Isaiah pulls out his phone, drafts an email to the program office security manager. Subject, incident notification, arrest and dismissal. He explains it in 4 paragraphs, attaches the dismissal order, sends it. The response comes in 20 minutes. Acknowledged. This will be documented in your file. No adverse action anticipated. Please coordinate with Lieutenant Vasquez regarding site access restoration. No adverse action anticipated, not guaranteed. Anticipated. He calls Vasquez, straight to voicemail. Leaves a message. Charges dismissed, requesting restoration of site access. No call back that day, or the next. On July 2nd, the local paper runs a correction, buried on page 6. An earlier article regarding a trespassing arrest contained incomplete information. Charges against the individual have been dismissed. We regret the error. No apology, no retraction of Driscoll's quotes, just incomplete information. Isaiah saves a screenshot anyway. July 5th, Brennan sends the demand letter. $250,000. Itemized, $40,000 in lost wages, $10,000 in legal fees, $50,000 in emotional distress, $150,000 in punitive damages. They'll counter with 50, Brennan says. We'll settle around 125, maybe 150 if we're lucky. How long? 30 days for them to respond, then negotiations. If they stall, we file suit. Isaiah does the math. September before settlement, October if they drag it out. The project timeline ends in November. He applies for 3 more jobs, gets 1 interview, they check references, call the program office. The offer is rescinded 2 days later. No explanation. He knows why. What they don't know yet is that the missing tablet contained something far more damaging than field notes, and someone just made a very expensive mistake trying to bury it. July 9th, the county's response arrives. Not a settlement offer. A motion to dismiss the demand letter on grounds of qualified immunity. Brennan calls, voice tight. They're going to fight it. Can they win? Qualified immunity protects officers from civil liability unless they violated clearly established law. We'll argue that false arrest is clearly established. They'll argue Hollis acted in good faith based on the information he had. Good faith? He lied in the report. We know that. We have to prove a judge will agree it rises to the level of constitutional violation. How long will that take? If we file suit now, 18 months minimum. 2 years more likely. 2 years. Isaiah hangs up, sits in silence. His savings account hits zero on July 15th. He sells his truck, the one impounded, the one with the broken equipment case, for $3,200. Buys a 15-year-old sedan for $1,800. The difference covers August rent. September rent is a problem for September. The boundary survey completes on July 20th. Confirms what Isaiah already knew. The remediation zone is federal land, not Driscoll's lease. The program office sends the results to the county. Requests immediate restoration of site access. The county doesn't respond. Brennan files suit on August 1st. Federal court, civil rights violation, false arrest, malicious prosecution. The county has 21 days to answer. They file for an extension. Granted, another 30 days. Isaiah starts driving for a delivery service. $12 an hour, no benefits. The app pings him at random. Drop off groceries, pick up prescriptions, deliver takeout. He works 10-hour days, comes home smelling like French fries and exhaust. His security clearance comes up for periodic review in September. The investigation includes interviews with neighbors, former employers, references. One question, repeated in different forms. Has the subject exhibited any concerning behavior? His neighbor, the one who showed him the newspaper article, tells the investigator he's quiet, keeps to himself, seems stressed but polite. His former supervisor at the environmental firm where he worked before going independent. Solid engineer, detail-oriented. I was surprised to hear about the arrest. The investigator notes it all. The clearance is renewed, but flagged. Subject has recent arrest record, dismissed. Monitor for additional incidents. Flagged. Not revoked, but flagged. The county answers the lawsuit on September 10th. Admits nothing. Denies everything. Asserts qualified immunity. Demands dismissal. Brennan files a response. Discovery phase begins. Depositions scheduled for November. Isaiah celebrates his 38th birthday alone in his apartment, eating microwave leftovers and watching the clock tick past midnight. The first deposition is Deputy Hollis. Isaiah isn't allowed to attend, but Brennan calls him after. He stuck to his story, said you were belligerent, uncooperative. When I showed him the body cam footage, he claimed the camera didn't capture everything. What did the county attorney say? Objected to half my questions, but Hollis dug himself deeper, contradicted his own report 3 times. Is that good for us? Very, but they'll try to settle before it gets worse. The settlement offer arrives on November 18th. $75,000. Confidentiality agreement required. No admission of wrongdoing. Brennan calls. It's insultingly low, but it's something. We can counter at $150, probably settle at $125. Isaiah thinks about his bank account. Negative $43 after the overdraft fee from last week. Take it. Isaiah, take it. I need this over. A long pause. You're sure? I'm sure. The settlement is finalized on December 2nd. After legal fees and costs, Isaiah nets $48,000. It's not justice, but it's rent for a year. He calls the program office on December 3rd. This is Isaiah Grant. I'm requesting restoration of site access. Mr. Grant. The voice is new, not Vasquez. Your contract was terminated on November 30th due to non-performance. Non-performance? I was suspended. The administrative hold ended in August. You didn't resume work. Because the county blocked access. That was resolved in September. I was never notified. We sent notification to your email on file. Isaiah pulls up his email, searches. Nothing. Checks spam. Nothing. I didn't receive it. Our records show it was sent. I'm sorry, but the contract has been awarded to another firm. The call ends. Isaiah sits, phone in hand, staring at nothing. 14 months of work. 214 site visits. Arrested, charged, exonerated. Lost his job anyway. He opens his laptop, searches for the project. Finds a press release dated December 1st. Remediation complete at former test range. Complete. Someone else finished it. Someone else got paid. He closes the laptop. Outside, the first snow of December falls, thin and gray, melting before it hits the ground. His phone buzzes. Text from Brennan. Settlement check should arrive by the 15th. Call if you need anything. Isaiah doesn't respond. He sits in the growing dark, watching snowfall, thinking about access codes and body cam footage and the difference between winning and justice. The apartment is silent. Then his phone rings. Unknown number. He almost doesn't answer. Mr. Grant, this is Inspector General's office, Department of Defense. We're conducting a review of the remediation project and need to ask you some questions. Isaiah sits up. What kind of questions? Regarding irregularities in the final sample analysis, specifically, discrepancies between your field notes and the completion report filed by the replacement contractor. What kind of discrepancies? That's what we're trying to determine. Can you meet with us? When? Tomorrow. 10 a.m., Federal Building downtown. I'll be there. The call ends. Isaiah stares at his phone. Irregularities, discrepancies, the samples that went missing from his truck, the chain of custody that was broken. Someone finished the project, but maybe they didn't finish it right. He opens his laptop again, pulls up the backup files. 14 months of GPS logs, field notes, sample analysis, photographic documentation, everything the replacement contractor would have needed to verify. Everything they apparently didn't use. He spends the night cross-referencing his data with the public completion report, finds it in 30 minutes. Sample sites 11 through 14, the ones he'd marked but never collected the day he was arrested, show completion dates in October. But the GPS coordinates are wrong, off by 200 meters, not enough to be obvious, just enough to miss contamination if it's there. He keeps digging. Sample sites 23 through 26, coordinates off by 150 meters. Sites 40 through 44, off by 300 meters. A pattern. Either the replacement contractor was incompetent, or someone wanted those specific areas to test clean. Isaiah pulls up the property maps, overlays the incorrect sample sites. They all fall on Driscoll's leased land. The correct sites, the ones Isaiah had marked, fall on the federal remediation zone. Someone moved the samples to avoid finding contamination on Driscoll's property. Isaiah leans back, mind racing. The county didn't just arrest him. They stopped the investigation that would have proven Driscoll's land was contaminated. And the replacement contractor, knowingly or not, helped cover it up. He saves everything to 3 separate drives, emails encrypted copies to himself. Then he goes to bed. Tomorrow, he tells the Inspector General everything. And this time, he has receipts. The federal building sits downtown, 12 stories of glass and concrete built in the 80s. Isaiah arrives at 9:45, passes through security, takes the elevator to the 8th floor. The Inspector General's office is smaller than he expected. 2 desks, filing cabinets, a conference table with 6 chairs. A woman in her 50s stands when he enters. Dark suit, graying hair pulled back. ID badge clipped to her lapel. Mr. Grant, I'm Special Agent Carol Hendricks, DODIG. She gestures to the table. Please sit. A younger man in shirt sleeves joins them, laptop open. This is Analyst Ryan Park. He'll be documenting our conversation. Isaiah sets his backpack on the floor, sits. You said there were discrepancies in the completion report. Hendricks slides a folder across the table. We received an anonymous complaint 3 weeks ago alleging improper sample collection at the remediation site. The complaint included GPS coordinates that don't match the final report. Isaiah opens the folder, sees his own field notes, the ones from the backup server. Someone leaked them to the IG. These are mine. We know. We compared them to the completion report filed by Blackstone Environmental Services, the new contractor. Hendricks taps a page. Can you explain why 47 sample sites show different coordinates? Because Blackstone didn't use my locations. They moved them. To where? Driscoll's leased property, away from the actual contamination zone. Park stops typing. Hendricks leans forward. You're saying they deliberately avoided contaminated areas? I'm saying the coordinates in the completion report are wrong. Whether that's deliberate or incompetent, I can't prove. But I can show you the pattern. Isaiah pulls out his laptop, opens the overlay map he created last night. Red dots show his original sample sites. Blue dots show Blackstone's sites. The blue dots cluster on Driscoll's lease. The red dots, the ones that would have tested the actual federal remediation zone, were never sampled. Hendricks studies the map in silence. Why would Blackstone do this? Maybe they didn't know. Maybe they were given bad coordinates. Isaiah pauses. Or maybe someone paid them to look the other way. That's a serious allegation. It's a serious discrepancy. Hendricks exchanges a glance with Park. We'll need copies of everything you have. GPS logs, field notes, photographs, chain of custody documentation. Isaiah pulls 3 USB drives from his backpack. Already prepared, encrypted. Password is on this paper. He slides it across. Hendricks pockets the drives. We're going to need a formal statement. This could take several hours. I have time. They start at the beginning. March 2024, when Isaiah was awarded the subcontract. His first site visit on March 22nd. The access protocols, the security clearance verification, the GPS logging system. Park types every word. How many total site visits did you complete before your arrest? 214. And you documented every one? Yes. Date, time, coordinates, weather conditions, sample collection details, chain of custody forms. Were you ever denied access prior to June 10th? No. I had a standing access window, 6 a.m. to 6 p.m., 7 days a week. Did you ever encounter Clayton Driscoll before that day? Isaiah thinks back. I saw his truck 3 times. He watched from a distance but never approached. Did he ever ask you to leave? No. Did anyone from the county ever contact you about your work at the site? No. Hendricks makes a note. So the first contact with local law enforcement was the day of your arrest? Correct. And you told Deputy Hollis you were authorized to be there. I told him I was conducting environmental sampling under federal contract. I offered to show documentation. He arrested me before I could. What happened to your tablet, the one with the access codes? Confiscated during arrest. Never returned. I filed a property receipt request. The county claims they don't have it. Park looks up. A federal contractor's tablet with classified site access codes just disappeared? That's what they're claiming. Hendricks writes something down. We'll subpoena their evidence logs. They break for lunch at 12:30. Hendricks orders sandwiches. They eat in the conference room. Isaiah's phone buzzes twice. Delivery app, shifts available. He ignores them. At 1:15, they resume. Tell me about the samples that were taken from your truck. 3 vials, sites 11 through 13. Chain of custody was broken when the equipment case lock was forced open. Were those samples ever tested? No, they're not in evidence. The county claims they were discarded as biohazard. Soil samples as biohazard? That's their story. Hendricks taps her pen against the notepad. Mr. Grant, I'm going to ask you something off the record. Park stops typing. Do you think the county deliberately sabotaged your work to protect Clayton Driscoll? Isaiah chooses his words carefully. I think Driscoll had a financial motive to stop the remediation. I think the county responded to his complaint without verifying my authorization. I think evidence disappeared and reports were falsified. Whether that's conspiracy or incompetence, I don't know. But you have suspicions. I have documentation that shows a pattern. Hendricks nods slowly. We'll need to interview Driscoll, the deputies, the sheriff. We'll also need to interview Blackstone Environmental Services. When? Starting next week. This is now a formal investigation. She closes her notepad. Mr. Grant, I need to advise you, if this goes where I think it's going, you may be called to testify, possibly in federal court. Against the county? Against anyone who violated federal law. Obstruction of federal operations is a felony, so is falsifying environmental reports on federal projects. Isaiah absorbs this. What about my contract? That's outside my jurisdiction, but if we find evidence of wrongdoing, the contract termination could be challenged. Could be, not will be. One more thing, Hendricks says. Don't discuss this investigation with anyone. Not the county, not Driscoll, not even your attorney unless you're subpoenaed. Understood. They finish at 4:20. Isaiah walks out into December cold, breath fogging in the air. His phone shows 6 delivery requests, $12 each, 5-mile radius. He accepts 3, drives until 8, earns $36 minus gas. At home, he microwaves pasta, eats standing at the counter. The IG investigation changes nothing about his immediate situation. Still unemployed, still flagged, still living on delivery income and a settlement that's dwindling faster than he planned. But maybe, it changes the larger picture. He's asleep by 10, phone alarm set for 5 a.m. Morning shift pays better. The Inspector General just opened a door the county thought they'd sealed shut, and what's behind it could topple more than just a few careers. 3 weeks pass. Isaiah hears nothing from the IG. He works deliveries, applies for jobs, gets no interviews. His clearance renewal comes through without incident, but with the same flag: monitor for additional incidents. On January 7th, Brennan calls. The county just got served with a federal subpoena. IG wants all records related to your arrest. They told me not to discuss the investigation. They told you. They didn't tell me. This is good for us. If the IG finds criminal wrongdoing, it strengthens any future civil action you might want to pursue. I already settled. You settled the false arrest claim. This is different. If they obstructed a federal project, that's a new cause of action, potentially much larger damages. Isaiah sits down. How much larger? Depends what the IG finds. But we're talking federal charges, not county misdemeanors. Treble damages possible. Could be 7 figures. 7 figures? Isaiah's entire settlement was $75,000. What do I need to do? Nothing yet. Let the investigation play out. If they indict anyone, we'll discuss next steps. The call ends. Isaiah pulls up his bank account. $22,000 left. Rent, utilities, food, gas. He's burning $4,000 a month. 5 months of runway. He picks up a double shift, works until midnight. January 15th, the local paper runs a story. County faces federal investigation over arrest. Sources confirm that the Department of Defense Inspector General has opened an investigation into the June arrest of an environmental contractor at a federal remediation site. The investigation reportedly focuses on whether county law enforcement improperly interfered with federal operations. Sheriff Meredith Crane declined to comment, citing ongoing legal matters. No mention of Isaiah by name. But everyone knows. His phone buzzes. Text from an unknown number. You're making a big mistake. Drop this before it gets worse. He screenshots it, forwards it to Hendricks. Her response comes in 5 minutes. Documented. Do not engage. Report any further contact immediately. The texts stop. But 2 days later, his car is keyed in the grocery store parking lot. Deep gouges, driver's side, front to back. Repair estimate, $1,800. His insurance deductible is $1,000. He files a police report knowing nothing will come of it. The officer taking the report is polite, professional, writes everything down, never asks if it might be connected to anything else. Isaiah pays the deductible, gets the car fixed, loses another chunk of savings. February comes. Still no word from the IG. He takes a part-time job stocking shelves at a hardware store. $7.50 an hour, 20 hours a week. Combines it with delivery shifts. Works 60 hours a week, earns barely enough to break even. On February 12th, Hendricks calls. We've completed preliminary interviews. I need you to come in again. When? Tomorrow, 9 a.m. Bring your attorney if you want. Am I in trouble? No, but what we found is significant. Isaiah calls Brennan. IG wants me in tomorrow. Should you be there? Absolutely. I'll meet you at 8:30. They arrive together. Hendricks is waiting, along with Park and a third person, a man in his 40s, FBI credentials on his belt. This is Special Agent David Mora, FBI Public Corruption Unit. He's joining the investigation. FBI. Isaiah sits down slowly. Mora speaks first. Mr. Grant, we've uncovered evidence of a coordination between Clayton Driscoll, Sheriff Crane, and Blackstone Environmental Services to halt your work and ensure the remediation report showed minimal contamination. Isaiah glances at Brennan, who nods. Let them talk. What kind of evidence? Hendricks slides a folder across the table. Emails, recovered from the sheriff's office server during our subpoena execution. Isaiah opens the folder. The first email is from Driscoll to Sheriff Crane, dated May 28th, 2 weeks before Isaiah's arrest. Meredith. That federal contractor is back again, 4th time this month. If they find what I think they're going to find, my lease is worthless, and BLM will come after me for cleanup costs. I need this stopped. What can you do? Clayton. The response, same day. Clayton, I'll look into it. If he's trespassing, we can cite him, but if he has federal authorization, my hands are tied. M. Third email, June 2nd. M. He's definitely got authorization. I saw his truck, government plates. But there has to be something. Nobody operates perfectly clean. Find a violation. Anything. Just slow him down until I can figure something out. C. Response, June 5th. I'll have Hollis keep an eye on the area. If there's a procedural issue, we'll document it. M. Isaiah looks up. She knew I was authorized. She told Hollis to find a violation anyway. Hendricks nods. Keep reading. The next email is dated June 9th, the day before the arrest, from Driscoll to someone named J. Vickers. Jim, the county's going to handle the contractor problem tomorrow. Once he's out of the picture, are you still interested in the completion contract? I can guarantee minimal resistance from the property owner. C. Response from J. Vickers, CEO of Blackstone Environmental Services. If the interference issue is resolved, we can move forward. Our proposal assumes cooperative access and limited remediation scope. If contamination findings expand, costs increase significantly. J.V. Driscoll's reply, understood. Let me make sure the scope stays limited. C. Isaiah sets down the email, looks at Mora. Driscoll arranged my arrest to get me off the site so Blackstone could take over and bury the contamination findings. That's our working theory, but we need more than theory. Hendricks pulls out another document. This is a bank record, June 15th, 5 days after your arrest. Clayton Driscoll received a wire transfer of $50,000 from an LLC registered to James Vickers. Payment for clearing the way, Brennan says quietly. And on July 3rd, Hendricks continues, Blackstone Environmental Services received a no-bid contract amendment to complete the remediation work. Value, $320,000. Isaiah does the math. Driscoll got $50,000. Blackstone got $320,000. And the contamination that would have cost millions to properly clean up got buried under falsified sample locations. What happens now? Mora leans forward. We're building a case for conspiracy to obstruct federal operations, bribery, and filing false environmental reports. If we can prove Sheriff Crane knowingly participated, she'll face charges too. Can you prove it? The emails help, but we need testimony. Specifically, we need someone from Blackstone to flip. Will they? Vickers won't, but we interviewed the field supervisor who actually collected the samples, a man named Aaron Cho. He's nervous, says he was told the coordinates came from federal maps, Didn't know they were wrong. Was he lying? We don't think so. He's a grunt. Followed orders. But his supervisor, woman named Rachel Trask, she knew. When we asked her about the coordinate discrepancies, she lawyered up immediately. Hendricks adds, if we can flip Cho, get him to testify that Trask ordered him to use specific coordinates that avoided contamination, we can move up the chain to Vickers. And Driscoll? The emails are damning. Combined with the $50,000 payment, we have enough for charges. Question is whether we can tie it to Crane directly or if she claims plausible deniability. Brennan speaks up. What about the missing tablet? Mora smiles slightly. Funny you should ask. We executed a search warrant at the sheriff's office last week. Found it in Crane's desk drawer, locked, unlogged in evidence. Isaiah's chest tightens. She kept it? She kept it. We're analyzing it now, but preliminary review shows it was accessed multiple times after your arrest. Someone was looking at your GPS logs. To see where I'd been sampling, Isaiah says, so they'd know which areas to avoid. Exactly. Brennan leans back. That's destruction of evidence, obstruction, possibly tampering with a federal investigation. Mora nods. We're building the case, but it takes time. We're looking at indictments in late spring at the earliest. What about Isaiah's contract? Brennan asks. Hendricks hesitates. That's still complicated. The contract was terminated for non-performance. Even if we prove wrongdoing, the program office may not reinstate it. But they could rebid it, Brennan says, and Isaiah could compete. Possibly. That's above my pay grade. The meeting ends at 11. Outside, Brennan walks Isaiah to his car, the one with fresh paint covering the key marks. This is bigger than I thought, Brennan says. If DOJ prosecutes, you could be a key witness. That comes with protections, whistleblower statutes, retaliation prohibitions. I'm not a whistleblower. I'm just trying to get my job back. You're a witness to a federal conspiracy. That makes you valuable. And valuable witnesses get protection. He pauses. It also makes you a target. Be careful. Isaiah drives home, mind spinning. Federal conspiracy. Indictments. Testimony. All he wanted was to collect soil samples. March arrives. Isaiah turns 39, alone again, microwaved dinner again. His bank account drops below $15,000. On March 20th, the county makes an announcement. Sheriff Crane is retiring effective immediately. Personal reasons. No elaboration. The local paper speculates. Health issues, family matters, political pressure. No mention of the federal investigation. Deputy Hollis is reassigned to dispatch. Deputy Rourke transfers to a county 2 hours north. The department is reshuffling. On April 3rd, the indictments come down. United States versus Clayton Driscoll. Conspiracy to obstruct federal operations. Bribery, wire fraud. United States versus James Vickers. Conspiracy to obstruct federal operations. Filing false environmental reports. Wire fraud. United States versus Rachel Trask. Filing false environmental reports. Conspiracy. United States versus Meredith Crane. Obstruction of justice. Destruction of evidence. Conspiracy to obstruct federal operations. The county erupts. The local paper runs it front page. 4 indicted in federal contractor case. National media picks it up. Reuters, AP, even a CNN segment. Small-town corruption exposed in environmental cover-up. Isaiah's name is in every story now. The contractor who was arrested. The man who wouldn't let it go. The whistleblower who brought down a sheriff. He didn't ask for any of it. Brennan calls. You're going to get media requests. Don't talk to anyone. Let the prosecution handle it. I wasn't planning to. Good. Also, the U.S. Attorney's Office wants to meet with you. You're a material witness, possibly the key witness. When? Next week. They'll prep you for testimony. If this goes to trial, you'll be on the stand. What if they plead out? Some might. Trask probably will. Vickers might. Driscoll and Crane, they'll fight it. The meeting with the U.S. Attorney happens on April 10th. 2 prosecutors, a woman in her 30s, sharp and fast-talking, and a man in his 50s, methodical and quiet. They spend 4 hours walking Isaiah through every detail: the timeline, the arrest, the missing tablet, the GPS discrepancies. "Your testimony is crucial," the woman says. "You can establish the scope of the project, the correct sample locations, and the chain of custody violations. Without you, we have emails and financial records. With you, we have motive and method. What do you need from me? Truthful testimony. Don't embellish, don't speculate. Just tell the jury what you saw, what you did, what you know." When's the trial? Crane and Driscoll are set for September. Vickers is negotiating a plea. Trask already flipped. She's testifying for the government. What did she say? The older prosecutor answers that Vickers told her to use coordinates provided by Driscoll, that she knew the locations were wrong but followed orders because she wanted the contract renewed. So Vickers is going down. If he doesn't plead, yes. Isaiah nods. What about my contract? The woman glances at her colleague. That's not our jurisdiction. But off the record, once this goes public in trial, the optics are bad for the program office. They terminated a contractor who was obstructed by local corruption. They might be motivated to make that right. Might. It's the best I can offer. Isaiah leaves the federal building, sits in his car in the parking garage. September trial. 5 months away. 5 months of living on fumes. He picks up another shift, delivers until midnight. April becomes May. Vickers pleads guilty to 1 count of filing false reports. Sentencing set for August. Trask's cooperation earns her probation and a fine. Driscoll and Crane hold firm. Not guilty. Demand a jury trial. The trial date holds September 12th. On May 22nd, Isaiah gets a call from a number he doesn't recognize. Washington, D.C. area code, but not the program office. "Mr. Grant, this is Ellen Casper, Deputy Director of Defense Environmental Programs." Isaiah sits up straight. "Yes, ma'am. I've been briefed on your situation, the IG investigation, the indictments, your contract termination. I want to apologize on behalf of the department." Apologize? You were doing your job. You were obstructed by local corruption, arrested unlawfully, and then penalized for non-performance that wasn't your fault. That's unacceptable. Isaiah doesn't know what to say. "We can't reinstate your original contract. It's been completed, however improperly. But we're rebidding the site. Full re-remediation based on your original sample locations. I'd like you to submit a proposal." Re-remediation? The Blackstone report is worthless. We're starting over. 3-year project, estimated value $4.2 million. Your experience with the site makes you the most qualified contractor. $4.2 million. When's the bid due? July 15th. Contracts awarded by August 1st. Work starts September. I'll submit a proposal. Good. One more thing, Mr. Grant. When this goes to trial, the department is prepared to support your testimony. We'll have a representative in the courtroom. We'll make it clear that you were acting properly, and the fault lies entirely with those who obstructed you. Thank you. The call ends. Isaiah sits in silence, phone in hand. $4.2 million. 3 years of work, his career back, if he can survive until September. He opens his laptop, starts drafting the proposal. They tried to bury him with false charges and a broken system, but the evidence he preserved is about to rewrite everything they thought they'd gotten away with. The proposal takes 3 weeks to complete. Detailed scope of work, staffing plan, equipment list, timeline, budget. Isaiah pours everything into it, 14 months of knowledge about the site, the contamination patterns, the proper sampling protocols. He submits it on July 10th, 5 days early. On July 18th, he gets the award letter. Contract value, $4,180,000. Start date, September 5th. Duration, 36 months. His bank account has $9,000 left. The contract includes a mobilization payment, 20% up front, $836,000. Isaiah reads the number 3 times to make sure it's real. The payment hits his account on July 25th. He pays off his car, pays 3 months' rent in advance. Buys new field equipment, hires 2 assistants, rents office space, and he waits for September. The trial starts on schedule. September 12th, Federal Courthouse, United States versus Crane and Driscoll. The courtroom is packed. Media, locals, federal observers. Isaiah sits in the witness waiting room for 2 days while the prosecution lays the foundation. Chain of emails, financial records, testimony from Trask, testimony from Aaron Cho. On day 3, they call him. The bailiff leads him to the stand. He's sworn in, states his name. The prosecutor, the younger woman, starts gently. Mr. Grant, can you describe your work at the remediation site prior to June 10th of last year? Isaiah describes it. The contract, the access protocols, the sampling methodology. 214 site visits without incident. And on June 10th, what happened? I was arrested by Deputy Trevor Hollis while collecting soil samples. Did you have authorization to be there? Yes. Did you tell Deputy Hollis that? Yes. What did he say? He said he didn't care about my contract. He arrested me for trespassing. The prosecutor introduces the body cam footage. The jury watches Isaiah recite the access code, watches him comply with every order, watches him stay calm and professional. Mr. Grant, did you at any point become confrontational or belligerent? No. Yet the arrest report claims you did. Why do you think that is? Driscoll's attorney objects. Calls for speculation. Sustained. The prosecutor pivots. Let's talk about the tablet that was confiscated from your truck. What was on it? GPS logs, field notes, access codes, chain of custody documentation, 14 months of data. And what happened to that tablet? It was never returned. The county claimed they didn't have it. The FBI found it in Sheriff Crane's desk. Why would Sheriff Crane keep a tablet containing federal contractor data? Objection. Speculation. Withdrawn. The prosecutor pulls up a document on the screen. Mr. Grant, are these your original GPS coordinates for sample sites 11 through 14? Isaiah reviews them. Yes. And are these the coordinates used in the Blackstone completion report? He reviews the second set. No, those are different. How different? Approximately 200 meters off. Those coordinates fall on Mr. Driscoll's leased property, not the federal remediation zone. So the samples tested the wrong area. Correct. What would that mean for contamination findings? It would mean contamination. In the federal zone, wouldn't be detected. The report would show clean results even if the actual site was contaminated. And who would benefit from that? Objection. Speculation. Your Honor, Mr. Grant is an environmental engineer with expertise in remediation. He's qualified to speak to the implications. I'll allow it. Mr. Grant? Anyone with financial liability for contamination would benefit. In this case, that would be Mr. Driscoll, whose lease value would drop significantly if the land were designated contaminated. The prosecutor lets that hang. No further questions. Driscoll's attorney stands for cross-examination. He's older, expensive suit, confident posture. Mr. Grant, you were arrested because Mr. Driscoll filed a complaint, correct? That's what I was told. And Mr. Driscoll believed you were on his property without permission. He was wrong. But he believed it. I don't know what he believed. You don't know that he was acting in bad faith, do you? I know the emails show he wanted me stopped, regardless of whether I was authorized. The attorney shifts tactics. You settled a civil suit against the county for $75,000, correct? Yes. Isn't it true that you're now seeking more money through this criminal case? Isaiah keeps his voice level. I'm not seeking anything. I'm testifying truthfully about what happened. But you did receive a $4 million contract after the indictments came down. I received a contract to properly remediate a site that was improperly surveyed by the company your client conspired with. Objection. Non-responsive and inflammatory. Sustained. Mr. Grant, please answer only the question asked. The attorney presses for 20 more minutes, trying to paint Isaiah as financially motivated, as vindictive, as unreliable. Isaiah stays calm, answers truthfully, doesn't take the bait. When he's finally dismissed, he walks back to the gallery. Ellen Casper from the Defense Department is sitting in the front row. She nods at him. The trial lasts 2 more weeks. The defense argues that Crane was following proper procedures, that Driscoll had legitimate property concerns, that the coordination was innocent communication. The jury doesn't buy it. Verdict comes back on September 29th. Crane, guilty on all counts. Driscoll, guilty on all counts. Sentencing is set for December. Isaiah watches from the gallery as Crane is led out in handcuffs. She doesn't look at him. Driscoll does. His expression is pure rage. Outside the courthouse, reporters swarm. Isaiah pushes through without comment. Brennan handles the press. Mr. Grant is relieved that justice has been served. He looks forward to completing the remediation work properly and moving forward with his career. That night, Isaiah sits in his new office, a small suite in a converted warehouse, clean and quiet. His 2 assistants have gone home. Equipment is staged for the site launch next week. He opens his laptop, looks at the project timeline. 3 years, 36 months, 156 weeks. He'll do it right this time. His phone buzzes. Text from Hendricks. Congratulations. You did good. Another text from Brennan. Sentencing in December. We can discuss further civil action if you want. But my advice? Let this one end. You won. Isaiah thinks about it. More lawsuits, more court, more years of looking backward. Or he could just do the work. He texts back. Let it end. December 10th, sentencing hearing. Isaiah doesn't attend, but Brennan sends him updates. Crane, 4 years federal prison, 3 years supervised release, $50,000 fine. Driscoll, 6 years federal prison, restitution of $3.2 million to the federal government, permanent ban from federal contracting. Vickers, 18 months, already served 8 in pretrial detention, 2 years supervised release. Trask, probation, community service, $10,000 fine. It's over. Isaiah's team starts site work on December 13th. The weather is cold but clear. He places the first sample flag himself, exactly where it should have been 18 months ago. The GPS coordinates match his original logs perfectly. What started as a wrongful arrest became the thread that unraveled a conspiracy, but the real victory isn't the convictions. It's the chance to finish what he started. The work continues through winter. Isaiah's team collects samples from all 164 designated sites, the ones he'd marked originally, the ones Blackstone had avoided. Every sample is logged, photographed, documented with redundant chain of custody protocols. The results come back in February. 47 sites show contamination levels exceeding EPA thresholds. All 47 fall within the federal remediation zone. None fall on Driscoll's leased property, exactly as Isaiah had suspected. The contamination is worse than the original survey predicted. Heavy metals, petroleum byproducts, residual explosive compounds. Cleanup will take the full 3 years, possibly longer. Isaiah submits the findings to the program office. They authorize a contract modification, additional 2 years, additional funding, 5 years of work, stable income, a career rebuilt. On March 15th, Isaiah gets a letter. Federal Bureau of Prisons. Sender, Meredith Crane. He almost throws it away. Instead, he opens it. Mr. Grant, I know I have no right to ask for your forgiveness. I made choices that were wrong, illegal, and harmful. I told myself I was protecting my community, supporting a local rancher, preserving property rights. But the truth is, I was protecting my own pride and my own power. I let Clayton Driscoll manipulate me, and I let my department become a tool for corruption. You did nothing wrong. You were doing your job, and I destroyed your life for it. I'm sorry. I know that doesn't fix anything, but I needed to say it. Meredith Crane. Isaiah reads it twice. Then he files it away. April brings warmer weather. The remediation work continues. Excavation, soil replacement, groundwater monitoring. Isaiah hires 4 more people. His company is growing. On April 22nd, he gets a call from Ellen Casper. Mr. Grant, I wanted to let you know, your work at the site has been flagged for excellence. We're considering you for a larger project, former Naval Air Station in California, 8-year remediation timeline. Interested? Very. We'll send you the pre-solicitation notice next month. Competitive bid, but your track record speaks for itself. The call ends. Isaiah looks around his office. Maps on the walls, soil analysis reports stacked on the desk, his team working in the field. 3 years ago, he was delivering groceries to pay rent. Now he's building something real. His phone buzzes. Text from an unknown number. This is Aaron Cho. I don't know if you remember me. I was the field supervisor for Blackstone. I testified at trial. I just wanted to say I'm sorry. I should have questioned the coordinates. I should have known something was wrong. I was just following orders. But that's not an excuse. You deserved better. We all did. Isaiah texts back. I remember. Thank you for testifying. Or, it mattered. The response comes quickly. I'm working for a small firm now, trying to do things right. If you ever need subcontractors, I'd be honored to work with you. Isaiah saves the number. May arrives. The site is 40% complete. Contaminated soil is being transported to approved disposal facilities. Clean fill is being imported. Groundwater wells are showing improvement. The local paper runs a story. Remediation project progressing after federal corruption case. Environmental contractor Isaiah Grant, who was wrongfully arrested in 2025, is now leading the proper cleanup of a former military test site. The project, valued at over $4 million, is expected to take 5 years. Grant declined to comment for this story, but sources say the work is ahead of schedule and exceeding quality standards. The story doesn't mention Driscoll or Crane. They're old news now. Isaiah is just doing his job. On June 10th, 2 years to the day since his arrest, Isaiah returns to the exact spot where Hollis first handcuffed him. The soil sample flags are still there, faded but visible. He plants a new flag, this one marking the completion of remediation for this quadrant. He takes a photo, sends it to Hendricks, Brennan, Casper. Hendricks responds, "Well done." Brennan, "Proud of you." Casper, "This is what justice looks like." Isaiah pockets his phone, gets back to work. July brings the California pre-solicitation notice. Naval Air Station, 8-year timeline, estimated value $12 million. Isaiah spends 3 weeks on the proposal. His team helps. They're invested now. They want to grow too. He submits it on August 1st. Award notification comes September 3rd. Contract awarded to Grant Environmental Solutions. Isaiah reads the letter 3 times. $12 million. 8 years. His company will need to scale. More staff, more equipment, more office space. He's not delivering groceries anymore. He's building an empire. But that night, alone in his apartment, the same 3rd-floor unit he almost lost 2 years ago, he sits with a glass of water and thinks about the cost. 14 months of unemployment. $75,000 in settlement money that barely covered survival. A keyed car, threatening texts, a security clearance flagged forever. 2 years in court, testifying against a sheriff and a rancher and a contractor who thought they could bury the truth under fake GPS coordinates. He thinks about the system that failed him, the county that arrested first and asked questions never, the program office that terminated his contract for non-performance when the non-performance was caused by obstruction. He thinks about the system that eventually worked, the IG who listened, the FBI who investigated, the prosecutors who built a case, the jury who saw through the lies. Imperfect justice, slow justice, painful justice. But justice. His phone buzzes. Email from the program office. Subject: Clearance status update. Mr. Grant, your periodic review has been completed. The The flag on your record has been removed. Your clearance is reinstated to full active status with no notations. Thank you for your continued service. Security Office. No flag, no notation. Clean record. Isaiah closes his laptop, turns off the lights, goes to bed. Tomorrow he has soil samples to collect. The next 5 years pass in a blur of work. The original site is completed in year 4, 6 months ahead of schedule. The California project launches in year 2, runs smoothly. Isaiah hires 23 people, opens a second office, bids on projects in 3 more states. His company becomes known for precision, integrity, transparency. When other contractors cut corners, Grant Environmental does it right. In year 6, Isaiah is invited to speak at an environmental engineering conference. The topic? Maintaining ethical standards under pressure. He tells the story. The arrest, the corruption, the cover-up, the trial. The room is silent. At the end, someone asks, "Would you do it again? Knowing what it cost you?" Isaiah thinks about it. "I didn't have a choice. The coordinates were wrong. The contamination was real. If I'd walked away, it would still be there, poisoning groundwater, threatening public health. So yes, I'd do it again." Applause fills the room. After the session, a young woman approaches, mid-20s, newly licensed engineer, nervous energy. "Mr. Grant, I'm working on a project where I think my supervisor is falsifying reports. I don't know what to do." Isaiah looks at her, sees himself, 7 years ago, standing in a field with a soil sample and a deputy's hand on his shoulder. "Document everything, back it up in 3 places, then find someone you trust and tell them the truth." "What if it ruins my career?" "It might, for a while. But doing the right thing is the only way to have a career worth keeping." She nods, thanks him, walks away. Isaiah watches her go, hopes she's braver than she thinks. Year 8, the California project completes. Isaiah's company has 31 employees, annual revenue of $18 million, projects in 7 states. He's 46 years old, stable, successful, respected, and he still remembers every detail of that June morning. The heat, the dust, the click of handcuffs, the sound of his own voice reciting an access code no one would listen to. He remembers because forgetting would mean it didn't matter. And it mattered. On the 10th anniversary of his arrest, June 10th, a Thursday, Isaiah drives back to the site. It's clean now. Native grasses replanted, monitoring wells capped, signage updated. The land looks like it did before the military ever touched it. He stands where Hollis stood, looks at where he knelt collecting samples. A truck approaches. Isaiah tenses, old instinct. But it's just a rancher, checking fence lines. The man waves. Isaiah waves back. The truck drives on. Isaiah gets back in his car, starts the engine. His phone shows 3 missed calls. Clients, probably. Proposals to review. Proposals. Bids to submit. He'll call them back. But first, he sits in silence, windows down, breathing clean air over clean land. This is what winning looks like. Not the money, not the contracts, not the convictions. This, clean land, honest work, a system that bent but didn't break. He drives home as the sun sets, radio off, mind quiet. Tomorrow he has more work to do. But tonight, just for tonight, he lets himself rest. Epilogue. 12 years after the arrest, Isaiah Grant's company is one of the leading environmental remediation contractors in the western United States. Annual revenue, $43 million. Staff, 67. Projects completed, 114. Clayton Driscoll served his full 6 years, was released in 2031. His lease was terminated by BLM. Last known residence, 2 states away, working construction. Meredith Crane served 3 years, released early for good behavior. She lives quietly in another county, no longer in law enforcement. James Vickers completed his sentence, attempted to restart his consulting firm. Lost all federal contracts, declared bankruptcy in 2029. Rachel Trask completed probation, left the environmental field entirely. Current occupation, unknown. Trevor Hollis retired from the Sheriff's Department in 2027. No disciplinary action on his record. Ethan Rourke works for a private security firm. The tablet was returned to Isaiah in 2026 after the trial concluded. He keeps it in a locked drawer in his office. It still works. The site where Isaiah was arrested is now a public park. A small plaque near the entrance reads, "This land was remediated 2025 to 2029 through the efforts of federal contractors and the Department of Defense Environmental Restoration Program. The work was completed to protect public health and preserve the environment for future generations." No mention of the arrest. No mention of the corruption. No mention of the man who wouldn't let it go. But Isaiah knows. And sometimes that's enough. He still collects soil samples himself, even though he could delegate it. Still triple checks GPS coordinates. Still logs every detail. Because systems fail. People lie. And the only defense is documentation. The truth, preserved in triplicate, waiting for someone to care enough to look. The email arrives on a Tuesday morning in March, 14 years after the arrest. Isaiah is in his office reviewing a proposal for a decommissioned Air Force base in Nevada when his assistant knocks. "Mr. Grant, there's someone here to see you. Says it's urgent. Won't give a name." Isaiah looks up from the spreadsheet. His company has grown large enough that unannounced visitors are unusual. Most meetings are scheduled weeks in advance. Did they say what it's about? Just that it's related to the Driscoll case. Isaiah's hands stop moving on the keyboard. 14 years. He hasn't heard that name in over a decade. Send them in. The man who enters is in his early 30s, athletic build, suit that doesn't quite fit right. He carries a briefcase that looks government issue. "Mr. Grant, I'm Special Agent Lucas Tanner, FBI." He shows credentials. "I apologize for the unannounced visit, but this matter requires discretion." Isaiah gestures to the chair across from his desk. "What matter?" Tanner sits, sets the briefcase on his lap. "Are you familiar with the name Gerald Whitmore?" "No." "He was the county attorney in 2025, during your arrest and the subsequent investigation." Isaiah searches his memory. The face comes back, 50s, thinning hair, present at some of the hearings but never prominent. "I remember him vaguely. He wasn't charged." "No, he wasn't. The evidence at the time didn't support charges against him." Tanner opens the briefcase, pulls out a folder. "That's changed." He slides a document across the desk. Isaiah reads. It's an email. From Gerald Whitmore to Meredith Crane. Dated May 20th, 2025. 3 weeks before Isaiah's arrest. Meredith. "Driscoll called again. He's panicking about the federal contractor. Says if they find contamination, he's looking at 7-figure liability. I told him we can't just make the contractor disappear, but if there's a legitimate procedural violation, we can slow things down. Buy him time to negotiate with BLM. Thoughts?" Jerry Crane's response. Same day. "Jerry, Hollis patrols that area. I'll have him watch for anything we can use. Traffic stop, equipment violation, trespassing complaint. Something that holds up long enough to let Driscoll figure out his next move. We keep it clean. We're just doing our jobs." M. Whitmore's reply. "Agreed. Just make sure the paperwork is solid. If this goes sideways, I don't want exposure." J. Isaiah looks up. Where did this come from? Whitmore's personal laptop. He died 6 weeks ago. Heart attack. His widow was cleaning out his home office, found the laptop, saw emails she didn't recognize. She's a paralegal. Knew enough to realize what she was looking at. Called the FBI. "Why are you bringing this to me now? The case is closed. Everyone was sentenced." "Because this shows the conspiracy went higher than we proved at trial. Whitmore was the county attorney. He had prosecutorial authority. He was actively coordinating the obstruction." "But he's dead." "He is. But the conspiracy statute has a 10-year window for related charges. And there's someone else in these emails who wasn't charged." Tanner pulls out another page. "Deputy County Attorney in 2025, now a district court judge, Appointed 3 years ago. He slides across a photo. Woman, late 40s, professional portrait. The caption reads, "The Honorable Lisa Brenneman, District Court." Isaiah doesn't recognize her. Lisa Brenneman was Whitmore's second-in-command. She handled the preliminary hearing after your arrest. She knew about the coordination. There are 4 emails showing Whitmore briefed her. She never disclosed it, never recused herself. And now she's a sitting judge. Isaiah leans back. What does this have to do with me? We're reopening the investigation. If we can prove Brenneman knowingly participated in the obstruction, she'll face federal charges. But we need your cooperation. I testified once. It's been 14 years. I know, and I know you've moved on. But this isn't just about your case anymore. Tanner pulls out another document. In the past 3 years, Judge Brenneman has presided over 6 cases involving federal contractors, environmental regulations, or land use disputes. She ruled against the federal interest in 5 of them. All 5 are under appeal. He spreads them across the desk. Case names, dates, summaries. This one. Contractor accused of cutting corners on a Superfund site. Brenneman dismissed the federal charges on a technicality. The contamination is still there. This one. Rancher violating Clean Water Act. Brenneman ruled the EPA exceeded its authority. Discharge continues. This one. Construction company building on wetlands without permits. Brenneman said the federal government didn't have standing. Project completed. Isaiah scans the documents. You think she's corrupt? I think she learned from the Driscoll case. She learned how to obstruct federal authority without leaving fingerprints, and now she's doing it from the bench. What do you need from me? Testimony. If we charge her, we'll need to establish the pattern. Your case is the foundation, the moment she chose personal loyalty over the law. Everything after that is fruit from the poisoned tree. Isaiah looks at the emails, the case files, the photo of Judge Brenneman in her robes. 14 years ago, he thought it ended with the convictions. Then he thought it ended with the clean land and the completed projects. But corruption doesn't end, it just evolves. If I testify, what happens to her? If we prove the charges, she's impeached, disbarred, and facing federal prison. The 5 cases she ruled on get reheard by untainted judges. The contractors follow the law. The land gets cleaned up. And if you don't prove it? Then a corrupt judge stays on the bench and keeps undermining federal law. Isaiah looks out the window. His company's trucks are in the lot, ready for the Nevada project. 67 employees depending on him. $43 million in annual revenue. A reputation built on doing things right. He could say no, walk away, let someone else fight this battle. But he knows what happens when good people walk away. He turns back to Tanner. When do you need me? Grand jury convenes in 6 weeks. We'll prep you beforehand. I'll be there. Tanner stands, shakes his hand. Thank you, Mr. Grant. This matters. After he leaves, Isaiah sits alone in his office. The Nevada proposal is still open on his screen, numbers waiting for his review. He closes the laptop, calls his assistant. Clear my calendar for the next 2 months. I need to focus on something. The Nevada project? Something else. That night, Isaiah pulls out the box he keeps in his closet, the one he hasn't opened in years. Inside, the arrest report from 2025, the body cam footage on a flash drive, the settlement agreement, copies of the trial transcripts, the tablet, still functional, still containing the GPS logs that proved everything, and a photograph. Isaiah at the site, kneeling by a sample flag, the day before his arrest. One of his assistants took it, said he wanted to document the work. Isaiah looks young in the photo, 37, confident, unaware that the next day would change everything. He sets the photo aside, starts reading the transcripts. If he's going to testify again, he needs to remember every detail. The prep sessions start in April. Tanner and 2 prosecutors, different ones from the original trial, younger, hungrier. They walk him through the timeline again. The arrest, the missing tablet, the trial, the convictions. Then they add the new layer. Lisa Brenneman's involvement. She was at the preliminary hearing, the lead prosecutor says. Her name is Amanda Reyes, 34, Harvard Law, 3 years in the public corruption unit. Do you remember her? Isaiah thinks back. Vaguely. She sat next to Whitmore, didn't say much. That's because Whitmore did the talking, but according to these emails, she knew the arrest was coordinated. She knew the evidence was questionable. She had a duty to disclose that. She didn't. Why not? Loyalty, ambition, fear. Pick one. Reyes pulls up an email dated June 12, 2025, 2 days after Isaiah's arrest. Lisa, I need you to handle the preliminary hearing for the Grant case. Keep it procedural. Don't dig into the authorization question. If his attorney pushes, cite the ongoing investigation and move on. We just need to hold him long enough for Driscoll to work out his BLM situation. After that, we can drop the charges quietly. Jerry Brenneman's response? Understood. I'll keep it tight. No surprises. L. Isaiah reads it twice. She was supposed to ensure a fair hearing. Instead, she ran interference. Exactly. And that's prosecutorial misconduct, federal obstruction, conspiracy. Reyes leans forward. When you testified at the original trial, you said the system eventually worked, that the truth came out. It did. But it almost didn't. If you hadn't documented everything, if you hadn't fought back, Brenneman and Whitmore would have buried it. And now Brenneman is doing the same thing from the bench. Isaiah looks at the case files Tanner showed him. 6 cases, 5 federal losses. Contamination continuing. Laws unenforced. What do you need me to say? Just tell the truth. The grand jury needs to understand that this wasn't one rogue sheriff. It was a coordinated effort involving the county attorney's office, and Brenneman was part of it. The grand jury hearing is scheduled for May 14th. Isaiah spends the week before reviewing everything. His memory is sharp. Years of detailed documentation have trained his mind to retain facts. But he wants to be perfect. On May 13th, he drives to the federal courthouse, parks in the same garage he used 14 years ago for the trial, takes the same elevator to the 8th floor. The waiting room is different. New furniture, fresh paint. But the anxiety is the same. Reyes finds him at 9:30. Ready? Yes. Remember, grand jury is informal. No judge, no defense attorney, just prosecutors, jurors, and witnesses. Answer the questions honestly. Don't volunteer extra information. If you don't remember something, say so. I remember everything. She smiles slightly. I know. That's why we called you. The grand jury room is smaller than a courtroom. 23 jurors sit in tiered seating. A court reporter in the corner. Reyes and her co-counsel at a table. Isaiah is sworn in. Reyes starts with background. His credentials, his contract, his work at the site. The jurors listen, some taking notes. Then she shifts. Mr. Grant, were you arrested on June 10th, 2025? Yes. By whom? Deputy Trevor Hollis of the County Sheriff's Department. Were you trespassing? No. I was authorized to be at the site under a federal contract. Did you inform Deputy Hollis of this? Yes, I told him I was conducting environmental sampling under federal authorization. I offered to show documentation. What happened? He arrested me anyway. Reyes introduces the emails. The coordination between Driscoll, Crane, and Whitmore. The plan to find a procedural violation. The instruction to Brenneman to keep the preliminary hearing tight. Mr. Grant, did you appear at a preliminary hearing after your arrest? Yes. Do you remember who prosecuted that hearing? The county attorney's office. I believe it was Lisa Brenneman, though I didn't know her name at the time. Did she disclose that the arrest was coordinated? No. Did she disclose that the county attorney had instructed the sheriff to find a violation? No. Did she present the case as a straightforward trespassing matter? Yes. Reyes projects the emails on a screen. Did you know any of this at the time? No. I didn't learn about the coordination until the FBI investigation in 2026. If you had known, Would it have changed your defense? Absolutely. It would have shown the arrest was pretextual and politically motivated. A juror raises her hand. Reyes nods. Mr. Grant, why did they target you specifically? Isaiah looks at her. Because I was going to find contamination on land that Clayton Driscoll leased. If that contamination was documented, he'd face liability and his lease would be worthless. Stopping me protected his financial interests. And Ms. Brenneman knew this? According to the emails, yes. Another juror. What happened to your career after the arrest? I was suspended from the contract, lost 14 months of income. Had to work delivery jobs to survive. The contract was eventually terminated for non-performance. But you got it back? Not the original contract. That was completed by another company, improperly, as it turned out. I was later awarded a re-remediation contract after the corruption was exposed. So you recovered? Isaiah considers the question. Financially, yes, eventually. But I lost 2 years of my career. My security clearance was flagged. I was unemployed for over a year. I had to rebuild everything from scratch. The juror nods, writes something down. Reyes continues for another 40 minutes. The trial, the convictions, the aftermath. Then she brings it home. Mr. Grant, are you aware that Lisa Brenneman is now a district court judge? Yes. Are you aware that she's presided over multiple cases involving federal environmental law? I learned that recently. Does it concern you that someone who participated in obstructing a federal environmental investigation is now ruling on federal environmental cases? Yes, it concerns me greatly. Why? Because if she was willing to obstruct justice once to protect a personal connection, there's no reason to believe she wouldn't do it again. The robe doesn't change character. It just gives her more power to hide behind. Reyes lets that statement hang. No further questions. Isaiah is excused. He walks out of the grand jury room, sits in the hallway while they deliberate. It takes 30 minutes. Reyes emerges, nods. They voted to indict, all counts. Isaiah exhales. What happens now? Arrest warrant issues today. She'll be taken into custody tomorrow. Arraignment by Friday. Media will have it by tonight. Will she fight it? She'll have to resign from the bench either way. But yes, she'll fight it. This is her career, her reputation, her freedom. Isaiah stands. When do you need me again? Trial's probably 8 months out. We'll prep you closer to the date. He drives home as the sun sets, pulls into his driveway, sits in the car for a minute before going inside. His phone buzzes. News alert. Federal judge indicted in corruption case. It's already public. He reads the article. The charges, the background, the connection to the Driscoll case. His name is mentioned. Isaiah Grant, the environmental contractor who was wrongfully arrested in 2025, is expected to be a key witness. Expected to be. As if there's any doubt. He goes inside, microwaves leftovers, turns on the TV. The news runs the story on every channel. Local, national, cable. Everyone wants to know how a sitting judge could be indicted for corruption tied to a 14-year-old case. His phone rings. Reporters. He ignores them. Another call. His assistant. Mr. Grant, there are 3 news vans outside the office. What should I tell them? Tell them we have no comment and to leave the property. They're asking for interviews. No interviews. Not now, not ever. He hangs up. The calls continue for 3 days. Reporters camp outside his office, his apartment, even his gym. He stops answering his phone except for known contacts. On day 4, Brenneman's attorney holds a press conference. Isaiah watches from his office. The attorney is expensive. Silk tie, perfect hair, voice trained for television. Judge Brenneman maintains her innocence. These charges are based on a politically motivated interpretation of 14-year-old emails taken out of context. My client served the county with distinction for over a decade before her appointment to the bench. She has never wavered in her commitment to justice. A reporter asks, "What about the emails showing she knew the arrest was coordinated?" Those emails show routine communication between the county attorney and his deputy. There's nothing sinister about staying informed on active cases. What about the instruction to keep it tight at the preliminary hearing? That's standard prosecutorial guidance. Keep the hearing focused on the legal issues. Don't let it become a circus. That's good practice, not corruption. Another reporter. What about the 5 federal cases she ruled against? Judge Brenneman applied the law as she understood it. Disagreeing with federal overreach is not corruption. It's judicial independence. The press conference ends. Isaiah turns off the TV. Standard prosecutorial guidance. Judicial independence. The spin is already starting. They thought burying the case would bury the truth, but the corruption ran deeper than anyone knew, and now it's clawing its way back into the light. The trial is set for January, 8 months away. Isaiah tries to focus on work. The Nevada project launches in June. He's on site for the first month, supervising the initial sampling phase. The work is clean, methodical, exactly what he's built his reputation on. But the media won't let it go. Every few weeks, another story. Judge Brenneman's defense strategy. Witness list includes wrongfully arrested contractor. Federal prosecutors building case against former county attorney's office. In August, Brenneman's legal team files a motion to dismiss. Argues the statute of limitations has expired, that the emails are protected work product, that the prosecution is vindictive. The motion is denied. In September, they file to exclude Isaiah's testimony. Argue it's prejudicial, that the jury will sympathize with him unfairly, that his story is too emotional. Also denied. In October, they offer a plea deal. Brenneman resigns from the bench, pleads to 1 count of obstruction, serves 6 months, no prison time. Reyes rejects it. She obstructed justice and then spent 3 years doing it from the bench. 6 months probation doesn't cut it. The counteroffer, plead to all counts, recommend 2 years, restitution, permanent ban from legal practice. Brenneman rejects it. They're going to trial. Isaiah is subpoenaed in November. Official notice, delivered by a federal marshal. As if there was any doubt he'd appear. The prep sessions resume in December. Reyes and her team have refined the case. 73 exhibits, 42 witnesses, a timeline that spans from May 2025 to present day. Your testimony anchors everything, Reyes says. You're the victim. You're the one who suffered. You're the reason the jury will care. I'm not a victim anymore. To them you are, and that's powerful. Isaiah doesn't argue. He knows how this works. The prosecutors need a narrative. Wronged contractor, corrupt officials, justice delayed but not denied. It's true, but it's also incomplete. He's not the same person who was arrested 14 years ago. He's older, wealthier, harder. He's built a company, survived a conspiracy, testified against powerful people, and won. He's not a victim. He's a survivor. But for the trial, he'll play the part they need. The trial starts January 9th, federal courthouse, same building as the grand jury. But this time it's a full courtroom. Judge, jury, gallery packed with media and spectators. Judge Harrison Vance presides, 70s, appointed by 3 presidents ago. Reputation for fairness and impatience with nonsense. Brenneman sits at the defense table in a conservative suit, hair pulled back, expression neutral. She doesn't look at Isaiah when he enters. The jury selection takes 3 days. Prosecutors want people who trust federal authority. Defense wants people suspicious of government overreach. They settle on 12, mix of ages, races, backgrounds. 3 are veterans. 2 work in tech. 1 is a retired teacher. Opening statements begin on day 4. Reyes goes first. This case is about trust. The trust we place in prosecutors to seek justice, not personal favors. The trust we place in judges to apply the law fairly, not protect their friends. Lisa Brenneman violated that trust. She knew Isaiah Grant was lawfully conducting federal work. She knew the arrest was coordinated to protect a rancher's financial interests. And she used her position to make sure the truth stayed buried. Then she became a judge and did it again and again, ruling against federal interests to protect the same kind of local corruption that launched her career. The defense attorney, his name is Marcus Holliday, 62, legend in white-collar defense, stands slowly. The prosecution wants you to believe that a dedicated public servant, a woman who spent her career upholding the law, suddenly became corrupt. Why? Because she handled a preliminary hearing the way preliminary hearings are supposed to be handled. Because she had routine email communication with her boss. Because years later, as a judge, she applied the law as she understood it. That's not corruption. That's a career. And the federal government is trying to destroy it because they don't like how she ruled. The first witness is Tanner, the FBI agent. He introduces the emails, the timeline, the investigation. The second witness is Gerald Whitmore's widow. She's nervous, clutches a tissue, explains how she found the laptop. I didn't know what to do. Jerry had always told me not to touch his work files, but he was gone, and I needed to close accounts, settle the estate. When I saw the emails, I knew they were wrong. I called the FBI. Holliday cross-examines gently. Mrs. Whitmore, did you understand the legal context of these emails? I'm a paralegal. I understood enough. But you're not a lawyer. No. So you couldn't say for certain that these emails showed illegal conduct. I could say they showed my husband conspiring to interfere with someone's job to help a friend. That felt wrong. Felt wrong is not the same as illegal. Maybe not, but it was enough to call the FBI. Holliday sits down. The prosecution builds methodically, email by email, witness by witness, establishing the coordination, the motive, Brenneman's knowledge. On day 7, they call Isaiah. He walks to the stand, sworn in, states his name. Reyes starts with the basics: his background, his credentials, his contract. The jury listens, some lean forward. Mr. Grant, prior to June 10, 2025, had you ever been arrested? No. Had you ever had any negative interactions with law enforcement? No. Were you doing anything illegal on June 10, 2025? No. I was conducting federally authorized environmental sampling. And you were arrested anyway? Yes. Reyes introduces the body cam footage. The jury watches Isaiah recite the access code, watches him comply with every order, watches him stay calm. Mr. Grant, did you know at the time that your arrest had been coordinated? No, I thought it was a misunderstanding. When did you learn the truth? During the FBI investigation in 2026, when the emails were recovered. How did that make you feel? Holliday objects. Relevance. Your Honor, the witness's state of mind is relevant to the impact of the defendant's conduct. I'll allow it. Mr. Grant? Isaiah looks at the jury. Betrayed. I trusted the system to correct the error. Instead, I learned the error was intentional, that people in positions of authority had conspired to destroy my career to protect someone else's money. What happened to your career? I lost my contract, lost 14 months of income, had to take delivery jobs to pay rent. My security clearance was flagged. I couldn't get work in my field for over a year. Did you eventually recover? Financially, yes. After the criminal trial exposed the corruption, I was awarded a new contract. I rebuilt my company, but it took years. And now you're here again, testifying against someone else from that same county attorney's office. Yes. Why? Isaiah looks at Brenneman. She meets his eyes for the first time. Because corruption doesn't end with one conviction. It's a pattern. Lisa Brenneman knew the arrest was wrong and let it proceed anyway. Then she became a judge and kept making the same choices, protecting local interests over federal law. If she's not held accountable, the pattern continues. Reyes nods. No further questions. Holliday stands for cross-examination. He's calm, almost friendly. Mr. Grant, you're a successful businessman now, correct? Yes. Your company earns over $40 million a year? Approximately, yes. You have 67 employees? Yes. Multiple federal contracts? Yes. So it's fair to say you recovered from the events of 2025? Financially, yes. More than recovered, you're thriving. I've worked hard to rebuild. Indeed. And part of that rebuilding involved a settlement with the county, correct? Yes, $75,000. And a $4 million contract awarded shortly after the indictments in the original case? I earned that contract through a competitive bid process. But you wouldn't have been eligible if the corruption hadn't been exposed, would you? Isaiah sees where this is going. I was always eligible. I was the most qualified contractor. But the original contract had been terminated. It was only after the criminal case that you got another chance. Because the criminal case proved I'd been wrongfully obstructed. So in a sense, the prosecution of that case benefited you professionally. Reyes objects. Argumentative and irrelevant. Sustained. Holliday pivots. Mr. Grant, you testified that you felt betrayed when you learned about the emails. But you didn't know Lisa Brenneman was involved at that time, did you? Not specifically, no. In fact, you didn't learn about her involvement until this year, when Agent Tanner showed you the new emails. Correct. So, for 13 years, you had no idea she'd done anything wrong. I didn't have the evidence. Now I do. Or perhaps the prosecutors needed another defendant and found old emails that could be interpreted as suspicious. Objection. Withdrawn. Holliday steps closer. Mr. Grant, you've testified in multiple federal cases now. The original criminal trial, the grand jury, now this trial. You've become quite experienced at this. I tell the truth, that doesn't require experience. But you know what prosecutors want to hear. I know what happened. That's what I testify to. And what happened, according to you, is that a vast conspiracy involving the sheriff, the county attorney, a contractor, and now a judge all targeted you specifically to protect a rancher's financial interests. That's not according to me. That's according to the evidence. The emails, the financial records, the testimony of multiple witnesses. Or it's a series of routine communications being twisted into a conspiracy narrative because the federal government doesn't like how Judge Brenneman ruled in later cases. Isaiah keeps his voice even. I didn't care how she ruled in later cases. I cared that she knowingly participated in obstructing my work and then lied about it. You keep saying she knowingly participated, but these emails just show she was informed by her supervisor. That's not the same as participating in a conspiracy. The email said to keep the hearing tight. Don't dig into the authorization question. That's not information. That's instruction. And she followed it. Holliday presses for another 20 minutes, trying to shake Isaiah's testimony, trying to paint him as vindictive or coached or financially motivated. Isaiah doesn't budge. He's testified too many times, documented too much, lived through too many cross-examinations to be rattled. When Holliday finally sits down, Reyes has no redirect. Isaiah is excused. He walks back to the gallery, sits next to Tanner. You did good, Tanner whispers. Isaiah doesn't respond. He watches the next witness take the stand, a forensic accountant, explaining the money trail from Driscoll to Vickers to Blackstone. The trial continues for 2 more weeks. More witnesses, more exhibits, more emails. The defense puts on character witnesses, former colleagues of Brenneman, legal scholars who argue her rulings were within judicial discretion, but they can't explain away the emails. Keep it tight. Don't dig into the authorization question. On day 16, closing arguments. Reyes goes first. Lisa Brenneman had a choice. When she learned that Isaiah Grant's arrest was coordinated, when she was told to keep the hearing procedural and avoid the truth, she could have refused. She could have disclosed the coordination. She could have upheld her oath to seek justice. Instead, she chose loyalty to her boss and her career. That's corruption. And when she became a judge, she kept making the same choice, protecting local interests, obstructing federal law, favoring the powerful over the truth. Find her guilty. Tell her that we don't tolerate corruption, even when it wears a robe. Holliday counters. The prosecution wants you to criminalize ordinary office communication. They want you to believe that every time a supervisor gives guidance to a deputy, it's a conspiracy. Lisa Brenneman did her job. She handled a preliminary hearing. She ruled on cases as a judge. She made decisions the federal government disagreed with. That's not corruption, that's independence. And if you convict her for it, you're saying that anyone who challenges federal authority can be destroyed. Is that the system you want? The jury deliberates for 3 days. On the afternoon of day 3, the foreman sends a note. We have a verdict. The courtroom fills. Isaiah sits in the second row, same spot he occupied during the original trial 14 years ago. Brenneman enters, flanked by her attorneys. She looks smaller now, worn down by the trial. The judge takes the bench. Has the jury reached a verdict? The foreman stands. We have, Your Honor. On count 1, conspiracy to obstruct federal operations, how do you find? Guilty. Brenneman closes her eyes. On count 2, deprivation of rights under color of law, how do you find? Guilty. On count 3, obstruction of justice, how do you find? Guilty. 3 for 3. The judge polls the jury. Each confirms the verdict. Then he sets sentencing for April. Brenneman is taken into custody immediately. She'll remain in federal detention pending sentencing. Outside the courthouse, reporters swarm. Isaiah pushes through without comment. Reyes finds him at his car. Thank you. We couldn't have done this without you. Will she appeal? Probably. But the evidence is solid. I'm confident it'll hold. Isaiah nods, gets in his car, drives away. That night, he sits in his apartment, still the same third-floor unit, though he could afford better now, and thinks about the last 14 years. 2 trials, 2 convictions. A sheriff, a rancher, a contractor, a county attorney, and now a judge. All because he wouldn't let go. All because he documented everything. His phone buzzes. Text from Tanner. She'll get at least 5 years. Maybe more. The judge doesn't like corruption from other judges. Isaiah doesn't respond. He's tired of counting years in prison sentences. He just wants to do his work. April 15th. Sentencing hearing. Isaiah doesn't attend. Watches the news coverage from his office instead. Judge Vance is harsh. Ms. Brenneman, you were entrusted with upholding the law, first as a prosecutor, then as a judge. Instead, you used your position to obstruct justice and protect corruption. Your actions didn't just harm Mr. Grant, they undermined public trust in the entire legal system. The sentence of this court is 7 years in federal prison, 3 years supervised release, and permanent disbarment. You will never practice law again. 7 years. Isaiah turns off the TV, gets back to work. Epilogue. The final thread. 5 years after Brenneman's conviction, Isaiah is 54 years old. His company employs 112 people. Annual revenue, $78 million. Projects in 14 states. He's semi-retired now, still owns the company, still reviews major bids, but day-to-day operations are handled by his leadership team. He spends most of his time at the Nevada site, the 8-year project that's now in year 12. Extended twice because the contamination was worse than anyone predicted. It's honest work, hard work, the kind that leaves him tired at the end of the day, but satisfied. On a Wednesday in October, he gets a call from an unknown number. He almost doesn't answer. Mr. Grant, this is Lisa Brenneman. Isaiah freezes. I know you probably don't want to hear from me, but I'm being released next month. Served 5 years, got 2 years off for good behavior. And I wanted to call you before I got out. Isaiah doesn't respond. I'm not asking for forgiveness. I know what I did. I knew it was wrong then, and I know it's wrong now. I told myself I was just following orders, just being loyal to my boss. But that's not an excuse. You did nothing wrong, and I helped destroy your life. I'm sorry. Silence on the line. I don't expect you to say anything. I just needed you to know that I know. That it wasn't a misunderstanding or a difference of interpretation. It was wrong. And I'm sorry. The line goes dead. Isaiah sets down the phone, looks out at the Nevada site. Acres of clean land, remediation nearly complete. He doesn't call her back, but that night he pulls out the box one more time. The arrest report, the body cam footage, the emails, the trial transcripts, and the photograph. Him at 37, kneeling by a sample flag, unaware of what was coming. He looks at that younger version of himself and thinks about what he'd tell him. Document everything. Trust the process. Don't let them make you quit. It'll take 14 years. It'll cost you more than you think. But in the end, the truth wins. Not because the system is perfect, but because you won't let it fail. Isaiah closes the box, puts it back in the closet. Tomorrow, he has soil samples to collect. And somewhere, the next contractor is probably being arrested by the next corrupt sheriff for doing their job. Isaiah can't save them all, but he can make sure the system remembers what happens when you fight back. He can make sure the documentation survives. He can make sure the truth, however delayed, eventually comes to light. That's enough. It has to be. This story reveals a truth that echoes far beyond one contractor's arrest. Systems protect themselves first, and individuals second. Isaiah Grant's 14-year battle exposes how corruption doesn't announce itself with dramatic villainy. It hides behind procedural language, routine emails, and people just following orders. The conspiracy that destroyed his career involved a sheriff, a county attorney, a contractor, and a judge, each making small compromises that accumulated into systemic obstruction. The lesson is stark. Documentation is your only defense when power turns against you. Isaiah survived because he logged every site visit, backed up every file, and preserved every piece of evidence. Without those GPS coordinates, those field notes, that body cam footage, the truth would have stayed buried. His meticulous records became the foundation that brought down 5 corrupt officials across 14 years. But documentation alone isn't enough. You must be willing to fight even when the cost seems unbearable. Isaiah lost his job, his savings, his reputation. He delivered groceries to survive. He faced threatening texts and a keyed car. He testified in 3 separate trials. Most people would have accepted the settlement and disappeared. He didn't. And because he didn't, contaminated land got cleaned, corrupt officials went to prison, and the system, however imperfectly, corrected itself. If you're facing institutional corruption, remember, preserve everything, trust nothing, and never stop documenting. The truth only wins when someone refuses to let it die. Be that someone.
Thank you for taking the time to watch this video today. If you found the content helpful, please remember to like and subscribe so you won't miss our upcoming episodes. If you have any questions or suggestions, feel free to leave a comment below. We are always here to listen.